Let's say you're starting a supplement brand, or maybe you already have one, but don't know what the scientific research says about your ingredients. If you're not careful, you might be in trouble with the FTC. In fact, the FTC recently warned 700 companies that they could face big fines, up to $50,000 per person who sees a deceptive claim. So if 1 million people see the claim, that adds up to a lot. But sifting through and understanding academic research is hard, especially if you don't have a scientific background. So in this video, I'll go over 3 different AI tools that can help you search, sort, and understand scientific research. Let's go. First, we can take a look at Scholar AI, which is a plugin with ChatGPT. If you have ChatGPT Plus, you can go into the plugins area and then take a look at the plugins and select Scholar AI. So that's what we've done here. We've selected Scholar AI, and now you can just ask it a question. So recently, I've been trying to improve my sleep, so melatonin is a popular supplement for that. Why don't we ask it about that? So does the scientific consensus support melatonin supplements improving sleep quality? Okay, so let's see what it says. So now that we have the results, we can take a look. You can see that it used Scholar AI as the plugin, and it came up with 3 different studies. We're able to read some summaries here, and if we also want to, we can go into the full text and look at it a little bit more closely. In this case, it looks like you get a PDF file. And so if we wanted to, we can dive deeper into that study. And I think if we click over here, we'll be taken to the actual journal that it's from and the abstract. And so that gives us the ability to look at this, see if this is interesting enough from a summary level, and then dive deeper if we want to. And so we could even ask it more questions. So let's say we want to take a look at this one. We might ask it, what is the sample size in this study? And let's see what comes back. So apparently there's no sample size in that. We could go into the actual study and take a look at that. I'm not going to go and verify that right now, but you do have the ability to ask it some questions. So maybe let's ask it a question where I do know there's an answer to. So it seems that they're using some food supplements here. So why don't we ask it about that? So which food supplements are used in the study? That looks about right, because we can see here that there is one aquili, onuria, and circadin, and that looks like the 3 there. So it allows you to ask questions about the paper and get some immediate answers, which just helps us absorbing these studies compared to having to go and read these academic papers, which sometimes can be difficult to read and understand. Next, we have a tool called scite. This one is more geared towards academic use, and they provide an alternative way to look up papers and citations compared to more traditional academic tools like Scopus or Web of Science. So this would be a tool that has some additional cost associated with it. So they have a monthly plan and a yearly plan, whereas with Scholar AI, it'd be free to use as long as you had ChatGPT Plus. But the way you'd use it is pretty similar. You can go to the assistant and you can start asking it questions. So why don't we ask the same question as we did previously? We said, does the scientific consensus support melatonin supplements improving sleep quality? And so in this case, it actually has more of a aggregated result. So with Scholar AI, it just listed 3 studies and gave a little bit of a synopsis of what those 3 studies are. Here, it actually talks about it and references multiple studies at the same time. So for example, it says here, the scientific consensus supports the claim that melatonin supplements can improve sleep quality. And it just gives further detail about it. So in this case, the scite assistant here is providing a more direct response to the question, supported by different studies. So we can hover over one of these studies, and it gives you a little bit of information here, a quick synopsis, the authors. And so what we can do is we can go in and click into the study, and it'll give us the list of papers that it's been cited by, and a little bit more information on the study here, the abstract, and you can go and view the full text. So you can find the full text and dig deeper into the study if you want to. We can take a visual representation of how these citations are. And so you can see that this is the original paper, and here are some of the different papers that are referencing it. And so you'll see here there's a green line and a blue line. This corresponds to these little icons with numbers beside them. So this is where Scite uses their own AI to represent citations in a way that's different than the normal academic research tools. If you're familiar with Scopus or Web of Science, those ones typically will list the number of citations that a paper has, but it doesn't have any context on the nature of those citations. What they've done is they've said, okay, there's 232 publications that cite this work. One of those citations support this work. One of those citations are contrast this work, and 151 just sort of mention the work. And so what makes this really interesting is if you can see a higher number beside the green check mark and a lower number beside the question mark, then you know that there's more studies that are supporting this work, which makes it more of a credible source. If it's the opposite and you see more of these question marks, then you may conclude that this is actually a work that's not well supported in the academic research. So this is one of the values that Scite brings, is the ability to get some context on how these citations on these papers perceive the work that you're looking at. And on top of that, just having a really great chat tool, which can talk a little bit more about the research as a whole instead of looking at singular studies. So previously we asked which food supplements were used in the study. So maybe we can ask a similar question. Now, Scite didn't mention this study specifically in their result, so we'll see if it actually picks it up or is able to find this study. Looks like it found it, and it lists the supplements there, and it also lists a few other studies that were done that seem to be similar. And so generally speaking, it just seems that Scite provides a more contextual and nuanced answer, and it seems like a really great tool to do your literature reviews or to just do some initial research to figure out in the big picture what is the answer to your question before you dive deeper into the supporting evidence. And finally, we have a tool called Consensus. This is also a really great tool to do initial research and literature review. Like Scite, it is a paid tool, but you do have a free option, so you can always test it out. And if you like what you see, then you can upgrade for $8 a month. So why don't we start by asking it the same question as we did previously? Does the scientific consensus support melatonin supplements improving sleep quality? What you get initially is a number of studies, and it provides a simple yes, no, or possibly answer to your question. And if you turn on the synthesize option, then it'll actually provide a summary telling you what it concludes from your question, and a meter here where you can get a better sense of whether or not there is scientific consensus on this question that you may have asked. And so in this case, it seems like that there is pretty strong evidence to show that melatonin supplements improve sleep quality. But it's not universal. There is still 37% that is possibly or no, but 62% that's quite strong. And so this gives you a starting point for your research. What I like about consensus is its simplicity. Keep in mind that the results are not 100% accurate, but it can give you great direction on the questions that you're trying to ask and how it's being supported in the academic community. And sometimes that's all we really need to get started. And if we need to dig deeper, then we can do that by going into any one of these studies. So we can look deeper into this, we can read the abstract, we can go view the full text and read the whole article. So there's a lot we can do with that, and it just helps us find these studies just a little bit easier and gives us some context on how it answers the question at hand. Now, what consensus probably doesn't do is answer questions specific to the study. Why don't we ask it that same question as before about the supplements in that other study? So again, I'm not sure if it's going to be able to find this study because it wasn't necessarily part of the search results in here. Yeah, so it wasn't able to find results here, but we can ask it about a study that it does see. So why don't we take this one here and see if it can answer questions like this? And no, it can't. Ultimately, the types of questions you're supposed to ask consensus is ones where it can determine whether there's some academic consensus on that topic. Here are some examples, and the question that we had asked, does melatonin help with sleep quality, falls in that category. Now, if you want to dig deeper into the article and ask questions about how the study was conducted or what kind of results it got, then that's more for Scholar AI and scite. So there are different use cases, but they can all be really useful when used together. And so it has a very simple to use interface. You can ask any types of questions, and it looks at a number of different studies all at once to give you an aggregate answer that is based on academic research. And there we have it. With these research tools, it can help you cut through the clutter and create your own literature review in a fraction of the time it normally would take. While these tools might be more geared towards academics, as brand owners or marketers, they can still be really useful. If you're interested in learning more, Andrew and I have a longer discussion on this topic, which you can find around here. Thanks for watching this video, and let me know in the comments below if this was helpful.